World News at 12 begins with the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the Labour Party on Sunday crying foul as Governor Hope Uzodinma, candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, was declared the winner of Saturday's governorship poll in Imo State by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The electoral body affirmed Uzodinma's re-election, having won in all the 27 local government areas of the state. The governor clinched a second term in office after scoring a total of 540,008 votes, according to INEC. Announcing Uzodinma's victory, the Imo State returning officer for the election, Professor Abayomi Fashino, disclosed that Samuel Anyanwu of the PDP got 71,503 votes, while the Labour Party candidate Ethan Achono garnered 64,081 votes. The PDP and the Labour Party have called for a total poll cancellation after the declaration. They alleged that the security agents connived with INEC staff to allow members of the APC to rig the election. Addressing journalists at a press conference, Anyanwu, while demanding the nullification of the election, said INEC and the security agents failed in their constitutional responsibility to deliver a credible election to the people of the state. Instead, he alleged that the security agents protected INEC staff as the APC members rewrote results. Anyanwu said he and his party, the PDP, would not accept anything other than total cancellation of the poll. The Labour Party candidate Ethan Achono also vowed to seek redress at the election tribunal. Addressing journalists at his Umuolomo country home on Sunday, he alleged that the election was marred by irregularities, including vote buying and physical assault of Labour Party agents, and thus deserves an outright cancellation. He further alleged that voting in many locations was done without the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, contrary to the assurances by INEC before the election. Achono also alleged compromise on the part of the security personnel, adding that recorded evidence abounds, such as that of a police officer who voters beat for attempting to snatch a ballot box. Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party PDP candidate in Bayelsa State and the incumbent governor Duye Diri was leading with 138,009 votes, while Chief Timi Silva of the APC trailed with 74,255 votes in 6 out of the 8 local government areas of the state, declared on Sunday. INEC postponed the collation and announcement of results from the remaining 2 local governments to noon today. Returning officer Farouk Kuta said the postponement was a result of the challenges and difficulties in the collation of some of the units in 2 of the most difficult areas to reach in the state. In the results released so far, PDP won in 5 local government areas, while APC won in 1. Meanwhile, there was a massive protest at the headquarters of the Commission by PDP stakeholders, calling for cancellations of results in Nembe and Brass local government areas of the Bayelsa East Senatorial District. While the protest was going on, reports came that a PDP supporter was hacked to death by suspected APC supporters in Brass local government area. The middle-aged man, identified as George Sibo, was reportedly hacked down in the afternoon after he was attacked by a mob. Some eyewitnesses claimed the deceased, a supporter of the PDP, was attacked at the governorship election collation center at the local government area headquarters when results for some wards in constituency 2 were being submitted. In the meantime, Usman Ododo, candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, has been declared the winner of the Kogi State governorship election held on Saturday, November 11. Announcing the results late Sunday night, the state returning officer, Professor Johnson Urama, said Ododo was closely followed by the Social Democratic Party candidate, Muri Ajaka, who scored 259,052 votes. Dino Milaye of the PDP garnered 46,362 votes, while Leke Bejide of the African Democratic Party garnered 21,891 votes, and Adejo Ukeme of the Labour Party had 567 votes. Well, now joining me to discuss this and other issues on the World News at 12, right here we have Mr. Moses Adebayo, a political and social affairs commentator and analyst. It is always a pleasure to have you right here on the World News at 12. Good afternoon, Mr. Adebayo. You're welcome.
Same here, Ijeoma. Thank you for the opportunity again. And I greet all listeners right now.
Thank you so much. Well, then let's start with the governorship elections in Kogi State, which was the last bulletin that I just took. The APC candidate has been declared winner in the Kogi State governorship election held on Saturday, November 11. He is the anointed candidate of the incumbent governor right now, who will be leaving very soon as he is sworn in, of Yaya Bello, the APC candidate as well. But here is the thing. INEC has said it will hold fresh elections in 59 polling units in Kogi State on November 18. 59 polling units across several local government areas. But they've already declared the winner. How is that?
Well, the incongruity is that attend our elections is so worrisome. How low can we go? As in allegations, counter allegations, vote buying, thuggery, ballot snatching, box snatching, killing, and all manner of things. How low can we go as a nation, really? Because this posture is unhealthy. We just want to get there by all means, as though if you don't become a particular governor or a particular this or that, life ends there. No. What I've had since Saturday, from Saturday, has not been pleasing at all. If after 24 years of democracy, stable democracy, we still have to go through these petty things again, then are we going to remain Peter Panish forever? It doesn't speak well at all. For Kogi State, I don't really believe in the power of incumbency. If you have not really served the people, you think you can win or you should win, then you are only dreaming. For Ododo, well, am I going to say congratulations or commiserations? I'm not here for that. All I want is that whatever transpired on Saturday, through Sunday, let there be enough evidence on the part of those that are agitated and calling for cancellation. Let them have enough. Because you imagine how some of these governors still manage to survive when they've not given any form of governance, any semblance of good governance to their people. Yet they win. You just can't marry them. You can't bring them together. For Governor Hope Uzodinma, what do I say? As I've said, I'm not going to congratulate, neither am I going to commiserate. I just want a case where, if truly the people of those states, IBK now, Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi, if they've spoken, I hope their voices are that of the real ones, of the voters, not a case of voice of Jacobs and the hands of Esau's, because it could be conflicting. But all of this will be litigated upon, and this is where it becomes even more worrisome. Must every cycle have the same narratives? Is it that ballot is being snatched? Is it that somebody is being killed? Is it that they have to go to court? And nowadays they even say brazenly, go to court, as though they know that they are going to contribute or manipulate what goes on in the court. So it's not healthy at all. It's about time we outgrow all of this. Otherwise, we remain a laughing stock in the community of nations. And when we don't get investment, I've seen some videos that have gone viral. They are just so unpleasant to see. The optics on the last election, not too good enough. I won't come here to invest when I know that this is how your society is. It seems barbaric, honestly. We can always do better.
We were talking last week on how the INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, said the commission has learned their lesson from this year's general elections and governorship elections on March 18, and that this time around the off-cycle polls will be different. Security agents were deployed. In the case we're hearing 40,000 security agents, NSCDC has been deployed, the Nigerian Army, the police, in fact, even the EFCC has been deployed. But yet there were massive cases of violence, malpractice, kidnapping, and even death. What really can be done to checkmate INEC to a point where they can actually deliver credible elections in this country? What other system can be implemented to checkmate INEC so that we don't get used to elections always being like this at every election cycle? It's not always like this.
Look, I've labeled any political aspirant or candidate in Nigeria as a political desperado. They've shown how desperate they will do or whatever they will do to get to office. And the reasons are obvious. Just so that the offices are so juicy, the perks around the offices are so tempting that anyone will do just about anything. If INEC continues this way, and I will not put it down to the INEC alone, because the election is always about the body conducting INEC, in this case, the politicians, the electorate, the security of this, and this is very key here. When there is collusion, because when there is when you have a breach of the peace, whereby we have a kind of security apparatus on ground that should easily tame such, but yet they still rear their ugly heads, then you suspect that maybe there is collusion. Hence, the security officials, they looked the other way and allowed such things to happen. This should be thoroughly investigated and brought to book. You've said while you were asking this question again and again. You can go 3-4 election cycles ago, and what do you have? A case of all of these recurring themes, thuggery, ballot snatching. How will someone really be bold and audacious enough to go and snatch a ballot box when he knows that the security apparatus there is so strong? Apparently, they must have been colluding. That's about the only logical answer. They look away while all these things are perpetrated, and it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, when the voices of the people are not really reflected, we get misgovernance. The man that got there knows that maybe I got there because I bought my way there. He holds no, the electorate anything. And this is why we are where we are. A country where it's so blessed with all manner of human resources, yet we rank among the poorest. A huge paradox. Ondo State, for example, has the second largest bitumen deposit in the world. Yet the roads in Ondo State are legend as bad as you can imagine, because an average governor will get there just to remain relevant politically. They win elections, so-called, but yet they do not get settled because there is always one litigation or the other. No thanks to the conduct of the election that is always fraught with all manner of shadiness, all manner of shenanigans. It's about time we got this. As I've said, Nigerians, heaven will not fall if you don't become a particular. Your impact in life is not attached to an office. The desperation shown over time, and I must go with what President Jonathan said on Saturday. It's about time we did away with this off-cycle election, because it's almost going to happen that when litigation, don't forget that we had go-by elections on the 18th of March this year, and many of the cases have only been decided at the High Court. There is still the room at the Supreme Court and Appeal Court, and even to the Supreme Court. So you have a feeling that more off-cycle elections are bound to happen. They look imminent, and this will not help us at all, because when they come around now, the governors have been elected, so-called elected. They know that I'm not really very firm on this chair I'm sitting on, and it doesn't have time to govern at all. All he's after is how to survive again and again. Whereas politics should have ended, governors should follow, but politics will continue till, and it goes on and on. At the end of the day, Nigerian populace will always be the one that will get at this cane at the receiving end, and it's not good at all for our federal units and for the entire country.
Let's go to Bayelsa State, where we had issues of INEC staff being kidnapped. Now, not just that, let's talk about the candidates in the Bayelsa State elections. The incumbent, Governor Duye Diri, is, currently leading with 138,009 votes, and he's followed closely by Chief Temipre Silva of the APC with 74,255 votes in 6 out of the 8 local government areas of the state that have been declared. We are waiting for coalition to continue this noon. Very soon there will be an update, and we'll know who will be the winner of the Bayelsa Gubar elections. But here is the thing: the APC candidate was the last administration's Minister of Petroleum. And then we have all of these issues arising as a result of subsidy or no subsidy. Our petroleum, ministry industry has not really been at its best 100%. And then you're coming, you want to be the Bayelsa State governor, you want to govern the people of Bayelsa State. Now, there were legal tussles and issues that almost up until 2 days or even the eve of the elections, before he was totally cleared by the courts. And then the time for campaign had passed, and he couldn't really, reach out to the people to tell them, okay, vote for me for this and that. Someone who was part of the last administration. And if you ask him, he may say he has given his best, but the people have not felt the impact as Bayelsa State governor. What is that thing that he could have done on a federal level that he didn't do, that wanted to replicate in Bayelsa State, or that he could have replicated in Bayelsa State?
The answer lies there in your questions. You wonder why are we not a country that should be celebrated? These are the reasons. We reward bad behavior. If you've done it bad at once, in the first instance, you can as well make it worse. It's impressive, even as governor of Bayelsa State, because there were tussles that maybe it's not as in he's not, he shouldn't contest because he has spent 2 times being sworn in, but the court declared that he can still contest. Fine, but the question is, why such a man? Why such an official? Why such a candidate? Because, as I've said, it's a country, whether by appointment or by election, you go out there, you put up abysmal performance, and yet to be elevated. It's for Bayelsans to decide. Choose local government now, Brass, where Silva is from, and Southern Ijeoma, where his running mate is from. Watch that space. 138,000 to you say 70,000 now. Something I'm not implying, I'm not insinuating, but we know how things work in Nigeria. We know how that sometimes one local government can just change the entire story, and you imagine what happened. So it's fortunate to see. Maybe some of them don't consider posterity. What becomes of my name when I leave the scene? Do you want to throw the path of infamy and your name remain in tatters forever?
Do you think they care about that?
And it's unfortunate if they don't care about their names. Then they are not better than beasts. Because I always do scriptural. A man now, or men who fail to understand the estate where they occupy, once they don't know, then they are worse than beasts. If you're not concerned about what becomes of you after you've left the scene, it's about me, myself, and I, then you are not worth being called a person, because it's undignifying. You go about people die because of elections I don't get it, because we just want to be there. And again, see, over the years when he was in power, I was indifferent to him. I'm talking of President Jonathan. But today, if there's a man I respect so much, he's the one. Now it keeps dawning on me how that you can't get to become a martyr because of a Nigerian politician. Don't. That's I've told as many. I monitored the elections my little way with some of my friends on ground in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi. Look, any youth corps, and I have some of them are former students who make up the ad hoc committee members of INEC. Please, when you are at gunpoint or cutlass point, they threaten you, let them have their way. You can't afford to die for Nigeria. You can launch a complaint with INEC 7 days after they may look into it. But that you want to stand on your ground, Nigeria is not that place you want to, because one gets killed and gets killed for fun. All in all, the 2 local governments that will be released from Bayelsa State, I hope it will be transparent enough for all to see that the votes of the people truly will determine who governs the next 4 years. All manner of rhetorics, all manner of sound bites we had before the election. I even had, I think, one of the running mates of one of the Guba candidates, I can't remember which party, was saying that they should push them into the sea. I said they should push whoever is not voting for them to the sea. Why we go so low? Must you be there? If you kill everyone in the state, who are you going to govern? You govern ghosts or space? It's not done. So they go about with caustic and very acerbic comments, as in make the atmosphere so palpable. And at the end of the day, as a matter of fact, there was voters apathy in the last elections. Many didn't turn up because the place was so militarized. You want to say, let me stay at home. At least if my life is still here, I can always do it another day. So our desperation for office is here is alarming, and that's understating it.
Mr. Adebayo, let's talk about voter apathy. We've talked about Kogi State, we've talked about Bayelsa State. I want us to talk about Imo State, where there was an unprecedented victory of Governor Uzodimma, sweeping all 27 local government areas. This is it's something that when you think about it, you'd ask yourself how. Now, in the Imo State elections, that's this off-cycle elections, INEC said they had 5.4 million registered voters for the 3 states. Of this 5.4 million, Imo State had 2.4 million of these voters. Bayelsa had 1.056 million, and of course, Kogi State had 1.9 million voters. Now, to win this election, Governor Uzodimma garnered over 540,000 votes of 2.4 million and swept all 27 LGAs. If there was voter apathy, where did he get all this more than 500,000 plus counting of votes in the Imo State governorship elections? There were places where the Labour Party, the PDP, of course, they're calling for cancellation. One of the questions I'd like to ask is that something you see happening, or they'll be told to go to court as usual? Secondly, 27 local government areas. Is that how loved Governor Uzodimma is?
Even you are being cautious as in how loved. Look, Nigeria will make you laugh to the point of stupor. I remember when Fayose unseated the then governor, who later came back. I'm talking Fayemi. Fayose was in the opposition then, as in PDP. Fayemi, the incumbent, was APC. When election came out in 2014, when PDP still elsewhere at the center, Fayose cleared all 17 local governments. And some friends that were there that monitored, I think I was even around then. And we just imagine that, how on earth, not even in Fayemi's local government, where it was started to have done quite well, he didn't win. So there is always going to be suspicion. You
know, the Labour Party and the PDP are alleging that this is rigging on a massive scale, and it was done so brazenly that you did not even manage to try to pad it a little bit so that you can say, okay, maybe he won't be 20 or 22 or 25. They've talked about where some of the polling unit agents actually came with results that were, or the result sheets were already filled in. They had local governments where elections could not take place. I think that was
what happened somewhere in Kogi, that about 40 polling units already had pre-filled results even before elections took place.
And then you had cases where the EFCC actually arrested people with bundles of money. Now, these bundles of money had the CBN band around them, and the people who were arrested had APC polling unit agent ID cards on their necks. And people have talked about how the EFCC took pictures of these people, took pictures of the money, posted them, but they took pictures from the neck down. And they're saying, why don't you name and shame and show us their pictures? Let us know the people who, according to the LP candidate in Imo State, are raping our democracy. For
real, I would advise that, as I've said, it's an unfortunate trend we've adopted over time. But I would advise that those that will litigate, because it's inevitable that they litigate.
And this will drag on till whenever?
and that is why governance will still be sidelined. Nobody enjoys dividend of democracy, and you can see how vicious the cycle is. Those that will go to court, please go with something very strong. Now, I'm not going to take side with who did this, who didn't do that, in terms of maybe putting tags around themselves. They are desperate, they can do anything. I once had Othon Zeribe, then a senator, said that in Nigeria, if just read your way, he said it brazenly that read your way to the office first. So when you are in the office, you will be in a position of strength to fight back before they are sitting. But that you want to let them win, and now you want to maybe get your mandate. A few people will only do that. Maybe someone like Peter.
How can you be excellent at work if the process that brought you in there was not?
That is the question.
Excellently.
Because at the end of the day, some of them know that they are not duty bound. They don't hold the electorate with anything. They got there by whatever means. And again, the people in the federating units are the ones that will suffer. And again, I wonder. 27 local governments. I mean, Achonu, is he from Bayelsa or from Kaduna? Maybe he doesn't have any local government attached to him. Or is Anyanwu not also an Imolite? So that even in their backyards, if Governor Hope has won clearly, as people spoken, then he must be a super politician. But you have every reason to scratch your head that, is this the case? So again, I will implore the opposition, they should please go to court with strong evidence. It's obvious that something must have gone wrong here. This is not the case. There is no place on earth that you have when you are not Adolf Hitler. He was the only person in history that got virtually all votes. Even at that, they still tempered in code just with mercy. They were still doing, if I use the word ojoro, with sense. But here, we go all full throttle to ensure that we win. And it casts aspersion on our person. For Kogi, let me just button on Kogi State. Kogi State, of course, there were skirmishes, there were allegations, counter allegations.
And 59 polling units are going to have the election conducted next week. But we already have a candidate declared.
That is what I don't understand.
A winner, rather, declared.
That means even whatever they're going to count in the next week will just be an exercise in futility. Nothing will come out of it because already a winner has been declared. And it's as if its lead is unassailable. That whatever comes out from those 59 local governments will just be merely ceremonial. And we don't want this. We don't want this. For Kogi, my suspicion is this. The declared winner, Usman Ododo, may still have an edge. I'll tell you why. From Kogi East is where Murtala Ajaka, the SDP candidate, is from Kogi East. He did very, very well there because I've gone through the demographics, the details, all that made up the how they voted. From Kogi West, that was where the problem started. Kogi West had about 3 or 4 rather strong candidates, Zeno Melaye, Adbejide, and that Okeme man. If this ones, because all I've heard about Kogi is a case of neither here nor there. The outgoing governor just didn't do too stellar enough, despite all they expected from him. So you expect that they should be given a run for their money. But when some of these strong candidates also sometimes they get fractured and a house divided against itself, will not win. I keep saying that again and again. For me, I don't see PDP as any true opposition party anymore. I hope Labour should take this space from them. I hope so. Because I don't want a one-party state. This is not North Korea, neither is it China. So we need viable opposition that will put them on their toes. And it's about time some of these governors too, like the governor of, is it Bala Mohammed now, or one of the governors incumbent, who is a PDP governor, who is a leak spittle to be President Tinubu. You are not of the same party, yet you go about as a PDP man saying thank you to the president. Does that.
All right, then let's quickly talk about another issue in a very few minutes as our time is fast spent. And another development, social and political activist Aisha Yesufu has cautioned about the possibility of a protest more devastating than the 2020 nationwide demonstration known as End SARS. The movement, which gained momentum on Twitter, called for the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, a notorious unit of the Nigeria Police Force. Yesufu, who played a prominent role in the End SARS protest, highlighted the underlying anger in the country, instigated by the arrogance and audacity of corrupt politicians and leaders who manipulated their way into power. In a post on her X handle, she wrote that no one predicted the End SARS protest. Likewise, the next uprising might catch everyone off guard. She also noted that regrettably it could escalate into violence. She explained that the prevailing anger is being fueled by the impunity and audacity of the corrupt politicians and rulers who have subverted the democratic process, and no one will be spared. Mr. Adebayo, is this something you also envisage as well? That something greater, something more devastating, something worse, something more unprecedented is coming, and it's going to be much worse.
If only that strong voice, because she's got a strong voice, no doubt. If only she can guarantee that the protest will not be hijacked and will go through some very nasty, very indelibly ugly sins. I'm a direct recipient of what NSAS protest became.
How can she guarantee
that it will not snowball into something violent? NSAS started, as I've said, it got the objective in less than 5 days. For the first 4 or 5 days, I was involved. Many people were involved. If I had some students, it was like a carnival there. But once it was said that, SARS is scrapped and this and that, some hoodlums, some scrupulous elements hijacked it and they wreaked havoc.
Where did they come from? Is it that these people don't want, not just that they don't want SARS to end, or is it just that they are direct beneficiaries of the goodness of the Nigerian police, or where did these hoodlums come from and what did they stand to gain to subvert such?
As Omar said, if you ask me, now who I go ask? For real, for real. We know ourselves as Nigerians. We know how we just want to be the reigning champion. This feeling of my brother did, it doesn't help anyone. I keep saying, when President Obasanjo when he was in power for 8 years, the road that leads to water where he lives was unmotorable, impassable. President Goodluck Jonathan didn't turn Nigerian to Eldorado. Buhari's rather lackadaisical 8 years hasn't changed anything for Katsina. In fact, under him, Katsina was possibly the worst government state. So it goes on and on. For me, I'm scared of what you call now of any, because I'm yet to recover despite all as a matter of what all I've lost. But this protest is our viable option tool, and mine is that the government of the day, surely if you don't govern well, if you don't give us the way of democracy at any level, whether it's the federal, state or local, it's only natural that people protest. But when protesting, we should do it within the ambit of the law. I support it totally. But can we guarantee that some people will not hijack it? They always look for ways like that. At the end of the day, they call the dog, give the dog a bad name to behead it. Please, Aisha, I know that whenever she speaks, people listen, people hear a lot. Her voice echoes everywhere. But can we guarantee that a protest which is almost inevitable, if you go by just the last supplementary budget I read, it was so annoying, so terribly annoying that you imagine, are we all right in this country? People are so hurting, and you think what is next to buy a yacht? Who does that? You consider when your senators and what do you call senators and House of Rep members also, they got the 160 million car. Some gave the ludicrous excuse that they need for work. Excuse me, before you became a senator, were you riding on donkeys or horses? Or was it camel they were riding on? Didn't you have your cars? I said, when you go out there, that's why it's important that we make our offices just go there and serve. Make everything that looks so juicy. Reduce the perks of offices. Otherwise, they will get to do anything. A local government I know in Lagos, when the local government chairman, when he was just an ordinary member of a particular street, he barely could afford anything. Today, it is alleged, and I've proven 1 or 2 of them, he has houses in choice places in Lagos, just a local government chairman. Imagine the level of the state governors or the presidential level. So I want Nigerians to, of course, we have every right to protest, but in protesting, let it not be hijacked. Can we guide our protest when we are protested? Maybe that's the new thing we should learn as Nigerians.
All right, then. Thank you so dearly, Mr. Moses Adebayo, for joining me right here on the World News at 12. Our time is fast spent, and we do need to continue with the bulletin. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your presence.
My pleasure. Thank you.
There is an ongoing protest by commercial drivers in Lagos State over alleged extortion by officials of the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority and Task Force, LASTMA. Many of the commuters were seen at various bus stops stranded as the drivers continued their protest. VOP News gathered that the commercial drivers embarked on the strike to protest extortion. Our correspondent who monitored the events observed that commuters are stranded at various bus stops and motor parks due to the low turnout of commercial vehicles in Lagos. You are still listening to the World News at 12 on the front end. British leader Rishi Sunak today sacked controversial Interior Minister Suella Braverman as he reshuffles his top team ahead of a general election expected next year. Sunak had come under growing pressure to axe Braverman, an outspoken right-winger, after critics accused her of heightening tensions during weeks of contentious pro-Palestinian demonstrations and counter-protests in Britain. Following her dismissal, Braverman said it has been the greatest privilege to serve as Home Secretary. The firing comes as the ruling Conservatives confirmed a major reshuffle of Sunak's top ministers was underway, his first since becoming the country's leader on October 25, 2022. Well, that's it on the World News at 12. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that the PDP and Labour Party has kicked as Uzodinma wins in Imo State. Governor Diri leads with wide margin in Bayelsa Guber election as collation continues. Something worse than NSARS is coming, Aisha Yesufu warns of impending protest. And commuters stranded as commercial drivers protest in Lagos over extortion. On the foreign scene, Sunak sacks UK Interior Minister Suella Braverman amid reshuffle. And that is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Ijeoma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. For coverage of your live events and brand news mentioned on the news bulletins, do send the mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Please stay tuned. Matters comes up next.
Who is this? Oh yeah, this is VOP